Welcome back to News On. I'm Miranda Kahn. We want to welcome back our panel. Joining us once again is Robin Byro and Rick Green. So right before the commercial break, Robin, you were commenting on ways that maybe we could bridge that gap when it comes to race, when it comes to your sex. And Rick, you wanted to respond to some of what Robin had to say. He brings up education. That is critical. As someone who grew up poor, I was very fortunate to be able to go to some really great schools. Not everyone has that option.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I remember as a kid, we were poor enough that someone in our church actually paid for our tuition to go to the local Christian school that cost about a fifth of what it cost to educate a child in public school. And that was a huge blessing for our family. And that's where the community came together. I agree with Robin on the fact that there's a disparity, but I disagree on the reasons for the disparity and what the solution is. We spend around $15,000 a student, including in these poorer areas. I was a legislator in Texas, and in Texas, unfortunately, we did what we called Robin Hood. We took money from some school districts and gave it to others in order to try to even it out. That sounds like socialism to me. It did not solve the problem. The problem is the teacher unions' control of the schools and not allowing competition. If you really want to give those kids a chance, you give them the chance to take their money and go to whatever school they want. Let's take the same amount of money and give them the choice. Let them go to private school, homeschool, wherever they'd like to go, and you'll see an increase in the scores and in the results across all socioeconomic areas and all races. That's the real solution. Free markets, not government control.
Robin, real quickly, your reaction to what he just had to say. It sounds like you're talking about school choice.
School choice, yeah, exactly. And that would be great if it worked all of the time, every time. But look, it's just good that people like Rick and I can have a conversation here and talk about ways that we can maybe work together to solve these problems. That's what we're going to have to do as Americans, bridge the divide among party lines.
Yeah, it would be wonderful to see that. Fingers crossed on that. Lots of prayers. It seems like we can do it on this show in like about 10 minutes. I don't know why Congress can't do it, but hey. Moving on. As we mentioned last night, President Joe Biden giving his first address to Congress, during which he called for an expansion of federal programs and to extend the social safety net on a scale not seen in decades. So Biden spoke in highly personal terms while demanding massive structural changes, which were met by strong opposition. Probably no big surprise there by his Republican counterparts. Let's take a listen.
You know what's hard to do? It's hard to live within your budget and do good things within your budget. What's easy is just to spend money like there's no tomorrow. And unfortunately, the president has lots of things he'd like to do, but he's spending like crazy. He's proposed in his first 100 days $6 trillion of new spending. That's a modern record. And put that in context, $6 trillion is about 4 times our total federal budget. It's an amazing amount of money, and it has the potential of jeopardizing our kids' future and socking us with decades of interest costs.
Real quickly, Robin, what was your reaction to the president's speech last night and what you just heard from Mitt Romney?
The president did a good job last night. I personally was comforted by his words. I had a little bit less financial anxiety because he gave some examples about how some of these programs are going to pay for themselves. Like infrastructure, for example, is going to create a bunch of new jobs. It's going to help pay back some of the expense, because I have concerns about the expense of that plan. So I'm glad that he broke it down and took the time to do that, Miranda.
Rick, your thoughts?
I don't find myself agreeing with Mitt Romney very often, but I absolutely agree. I mean, $6 trillion, there is not going to be a creation of jobs that's going to pay that bill. That bill goes to our kids and our grandkids. We're stealing from our children and grandchildren. You know, last night there was so much political theater, from wearing the mask when it's not needed in that room to only letting a few people in there when they crammed them in for their unconstitutional impeachment of Trump. So it started with political theater there. But then the claims of what these programs would do or how they might be paid for, it's all theater, meaning theater is acting, meaning it's fake. What we need are real solutions for real people. And I'll bring it back to the education thing. I mean, Biden actually said that America became number one in education because government took control of education last century. The exact opposite is what actually happened. Government took control of education and we dropped dramatically. We don't need 4 more years of public education. We need to give that money to the parents and let them choose. I will say, Robin, it would be nice if it worked every time it's tried. It does work. Every time competition has been tried, it's worked. Everywhere that it's been done, it's improved the scores across the board. Let's give parents the choice, and that will help our kids.
Do you agree? Do you disagree? For the viewers that are watching, you can always let us know. Hashtag share your voice. You can find me at Real Miranda Khan. All right. President Biden also making, not the only Democrat, receiving some backlash from fellow Republicans, but Nancy Pelosi also receiving some for this, wearing a mask. So you have people responding to that saying, you know, what's going on here? She wasn't seen wearing a mask when she got caught, if you will, getting her hair done in California. Now they're saying you don't need to wear a mask if you've been vaccinated. So why is she wearing a mask now, but she wasn't then? And she's not the only one. The president himself has been seen wearing a mask, and he's been vaccinated. So kind of some mixed messages going on that has some people going, huh? I don't get it. Robin, your thoughts?
I think it comes down to setting an example for the public. I myself have been fully vaccinated, and when I go out in public, I still wear a mask because I want people to still see that it's still normal to wear a mask because not everyone has been fully vaccinated yet. I don't want people to suddenly think that it's still safe to go outside right now and in public places without a mask. And just look at the flu results over the last year.
So wait, hold on. That's interesting you're saying that because that's not what the president is saying. So are you saying you disagree? Go ahead.
In part, I disagree. I think that it comes down to setting up an example for public health, Miranda.
Okay, there you have it. Rick, real quickly to you.
Political theater. You know, in other words, Robin's saying it's not that it works or that that it helps. It's that he wants to send the signal that it helps. Same thing happens across the country. Listen, this is voodoo magic. This is pseudoscience. The masks don't work. Look at the states where government has mandated all this and continues to mandate it. Deaths and cases are up. In the states where we've let people choose for themselves and take care of their health themselves, cases and deaths are down. There is zero science that the masks are helping. This is an absolute fraud on the American people, and we need to have a little bit of civil disobedience here and push back. The idea that you would be vaccinated and still wear a mask is silly, and we need to call it that so that people can get out of this fear. We're getting people to act out of fear, and that causes their logic part of their brain to shut down, and that's where most people are in America today. We need to change that by telling the truth and living the truth, not living lies.
All right, you heard what our panelists had to say about that. Again, for those of you watching, do you agree? Do you disagree? Love to hear your thoughts. Real quickly, though, we only have like a minute remaining, so I do want to talk about this story real briefly. Our partners over at Justin News reporting that Catholic bishops in the U.S. are now mulling over this decision on whether or not to tell President Biden to stop taking communion over his advocacy of abortion. Robin, your thoughts on this? Could it happen?
It's rough. It could happen. It happened to me when I came out as a gay man. They told me that I could no longer take communion and that I would have to sit in the back pew while the rest of my family did. I don't like when they do things like that, but it happens, and they have the right to do that.
Do you still go to Catholic church? I have to ask.
No, I switched. I'm now a Quaker. I go to Quaker meeting.
Okay, Rick, last 30 seconds to you, sir.
I mean, I think that's great for Robin. I think that's the beauty of the free market and religious liberty, that you can choose which church aligns with your beliefs. But if you don't align with the beliefs of that particular church, in this case, Biden and the Catholic Church, the church itself absolutely has every freedom to discipline people in their church and excommunicate them if they want, to not allow them to have communion. That's called religious liberty. That's what our founders fought for. And I think we should all be allowed to live that out. And the Catholic Church absolutely should be able to take that step. And frankly, based on the tenets of their faith, they should take that step.
That's what I was going to ask you. Now the question is, will they? Do you think they will?
We've seen some bishops do that over the years with other Democrat politicians that do not abide by the church's teaching on not taking innocent life.
Yeah.
I think they should do it, and I hope some of them will.
But do you think they will? Yes or no? Real quickly. You got to go to commercial break.
Well, does the church have the backbone to live by the tenets of its faith? I'm gonna say no. They're probably not gonna be bold enough in this case.
See how I can bring people together right there. You both see them agreeing with each other that it's not going to happen. Only on News On. Rick, Robin, thank you both.
Thank you, Miranda.
Thanks, Miranda.